Just for you in this series, multiple guys talked about both not taking enough threes and making enough threes. Just what do the Celtics do to kind of make it so tough on you guys?
They got a really good defense. I think defense is kind of what they pride themselves on, similar to us, and I think they did a really good job of, switching and making it difficult to find open looks and scrambling. I mean, they're long, athletic, and I think we had to work harder on offense than we had most of this year.
Just how badly did you guys miss Chris? I know you guys don't make excuses, but he's your second lead scorer. Like, it's okay to say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, Chris is an all-star, right? Chris helped us win a championship last year. Chris means as much to this organization, I think, as anybody. And so for him to not be around, it makes it more difficult. It makes ball movement more difficult. It makes his ability to make tough shots. He's a great defender. He does everything out there. And so to not have him is tough, but that's what sports are, right? That's the imperfect world we live in where injuries are a part of the game, unfortunately. And, we wanted to try to put ourselves in a position to win so we could get them back in the next rounds, but we weren't able to come through on it.
Just in the last 24 hours or so, like, where has your mind been going? Like, kind of things you've been reflecting on when you think about the season or the series or whatever?
Just how we can get better, how I can get better, how we can get better as a team, how you can put yourself in a position this offseason to prepare for another year, another run at it. I think it's unique. We won a championship July 20-something, right? Like, jump right into a season. It's been a little bit of a marathon. How do you take time to let your body heal? Everyone's got nicks and bruises. Everyone's got injuries, that are minor but are still things that have to be dealt with. And how do you make sure you can give yourself a chance to rest and relax, but then also have a longer than normal off season, in our case, to get better and to work on your body, to work on your game, to work on your skill, and come back better next year than we were this year.
Did it feel good to get hit in the face last night? I feel like it's been a little while since we got one of those.
It never feels good to get hit in the face, but usually when I get hit in the face, we win. So at the time, yeah, it felt great. After the game, it didn't feel as good because of a bunch of things.
Jamal, question. What was maybe, it might be hard here, less than 24 hours, but what was maybe the hardest part of defending a championship? Or maybe different than, climbing the mountain to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, you get everyone's best shot, right? When you're the defending champs, they're coming for, blood in the water every single time. And I think for us, it was a matter of sticking to our principles, sticking to the things that we built the championship caliber organization on. And I think, things get tested throughout the year. Things get tested throughout the playoffs. And how do we be more resilient? How do we be more mentally tough? How do we be more physically tough next year? Because while we won't be defending champs, we'll still be, championship contenders, and we'll still be champions from 2 years ago, and we'll still get, I'm imagining, everyone's best shot.
Was it mental? Chris said it was a mental thing of just like not thinking about it. And obviously it's hard physically, but was that maybe part of it, or something you could not have anticipated? Was that mental grind, I guess?
Yeah, I think the mental grind also just because of the short turnaround, right? And so when you have the short turnaround, it feels like you just played a team. Or when you're, going through now a regular NBA season per se, even though it didn't really start out totally regular, and coming off a condensed season where things were shoved in, I think mentally there is a grind there, a mental toughness, mental accountability, discipline, the whole thing. And I think that's where you get tested most. But that's part of the fun of it, right? Being battle-tested, being tested to be put in difficult positions, that's when you kind of can see who you are. That's when you can see what you're made of as a team, and that's where you can learn from. And I think this year we have a lot to learn from, and this past series we have a lot to learn from. And the only time you really fail is if you don't, learn. You don't pick yourself back up, and I fully expect all of us to do that.
You talk about working to get better. What will you work on the most during this offseason once you have some time to kind of unwind a little bit?
I'll work on everything, try to continuing to improve my overall game, continuing to shoot the ball more consistently, continuing to be able to hopefully play make and finish in the lane and create some opportunities for my teammates more consistently. And, I've been fortunate on my 4 years here, I think I've improved my shooting every single year. I think I started out dunking the ball like crazy, and I think I've gone away from that. So I'd like to get back to that if I can incorporate, some 3-point shots, catch eye, keep high, and then some highlight reel dunks. I think I'll be in a pretty good position to help our team win.
You have a player option. Just what have these years in Milwaukee meant to you, and just what's your approach in that regard going into the offseason with a little bit of uncertainty?
Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee's home for me. I've been fortunate to be a part of this organization and come in at a time where we weren't championship contenders and help us become that. And I don't think I take that lightly. I mean, I know when you're in the NBA, there's only a finite amount of time that you have. It's different. It's unique and compared to other professions, right? It's a shorter lifespan, and it is a business. Guys want to make as much money as that lifespan as they can, right? Because it is short, and they do have the rest of their lives to live and families to provide for. But, I try to look at things a little bit differently. Look at things other than just the monetary value that it can literally bring. But, competing for championships, playing alongside guys like Giannis and Drew and Chris, playing for, our owners here and Coach Bud and John Horst. And I think they've done a really good job here in Milwaukee to create a family-like culture, and that's something that I've always been about. And I've always prided myself on winning. So for me, I think it's not just about looking at dollars and cents. It's about looking at, the organization as a whole and looking at my teammates and knowing that these guys have become like brothers to me. So how do I find ways to continue to improve my game so that hopefully I can help improve our chances of winning a championship here in Milwaukee next year?
I think you've talked about this maybe before, but when you catch the ball high and just like shoot from there, how'd you get effective at that? How'd you get so effective at shooting like that?
It's a lot of work. It started with Kyle Korver back during COVID because I think he did a great job of minimalizing how much movement he had in his jump shots. Like, he was able to get it off pretty quick. And then, ironically, it continued last year with one of the Celtics assistant coaches, Ben Sullivan. And he helped me a lot, and he helped me understand, how to create some power and use my athleticism even without bringing the ball down. And then this year, some of the assistants, one of the assistants, Chad Forcier, and then just a lot of reps later at night, video guys, understanding the mechanics of how I shoot, how my jump shot is, how I can be better at it, how I can be more consistent at it, how I can get more power with it. And slowly but surely over time, brick by brick, as we say, it's been more and more comfortable, and it's been worked well enough to be able to pull out in some games, and hopefully I'll be able to pull it out even more next year.
Anything about that? Like, what was maybe the most awkward or uncomfortable thing about like catching and shooting that you had to sort of get over?
Just like, it's such a short distance, right? So you don't feel like you're shooting it that powerfully. You grow up, you learn to shoot from your pocket to start, and then slowly but surely. But like, there's a lot of fluidity, there's a lot of timing that goes into it. When you're just catching it up here and shooting from up here, that timing, that fluidity kind of changes. And so understanding really the dynamics of your jump shot, starting with your feet, but knowing that the ball itself doesn't have to move anywhere for you to still generate that power. It starts with your legs, but it finishes with a, strong wrists, follow through, fingertips. And so for me, it was really awkward to start, but then slowly but surely it got more comfortable, it felt more fluid, and it felt more normal.
When we were talking to Bobby, he had said that you go into like every season, you think there's probably 6-8 teams that have a chance to win a championship. 4 years in Milwaukee, I would say all 4 years you guys have been one of those 6 to 8 teams. What does that feel like? Like to be in an organization where that's not just like a goal, that's reality, and that's what you're in every day?
I mean, it's an incredible feeling. I think it's one of the reasons it's worthwhile coming to work every single day. It's one of the reasons it's worth doing the 10, 15, 20 extra sprints you do after practice, or the extra lifts you do at night, or the 100 extra catch-eye keeps I do later at night, whatever it is. I think when you have a chance as an organization, as an individual, as a team, to be a part of something that can realistically win a championship year in and year out, it's moments you can't take for granted. You want to make sure you put your best foot forth because you are in a fortunate situation. And I think, for us here, this feeling, the feeling last night, the feeling going through this series where we had opportunities, in my opinion, to, win a series or put ourselves in a better position to win it before getting to a Game 7. How do you use those feelings and use them as motivation, knowing that we very well could/will be in a position to be a championship contender next year, but it's going to be harder. The first championship's really hard. They say the second one's even harder. They say the third one's even harder. So how do you understand that it's going to be more and more work? It's going to be harder and harder work throughout the off seasons, throughout the in seasons, but it's why we play. It's, in my opinion, the best feeling in sports is to be able to compete for a championship, and whether you win or lose, that journey is, I think, what makes it worth it.
You were mentioning about how this is such a family culture. These guys are like your brothers. You decided to wear a shirt that said "Protect Kids, Not Guns" after the shooting on Game 6. How was that important? And this isn't the first time we've seen, whether it's an individual athlete or the Bucks as a whole, come out and put their say towards the community and saying this is how it should be. We need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, I got another shirt that says "The Power of Sport to Change the World," and I think from what I've seen, sports is such a great way to bring the community together. When I said this a few times, but when we won it in Game 6 last year, for those 3 hours, nobody cared about race, religion, political, economical, whatever differences. Everyone was rooting for the Milwaukee Bucks. Everyone was having fun. Everybody was partying that we won it, right? I think sport has a real unique platform to bring the community together, and the Milwaukee Bucks themselves, especially in the city of Milwaukee, has a unique platform to bring the community of Milwaukee and greater state of Wisconsin together. And I think in the world that we live in today, it's important to use your voice to preach trying to do more good, because I think weirdly, there's a lot of negatives that get publicized more than positives. And so how do we kind of change that narrative so that the next generation of student athletes or pro athletes or community leaders, have a chance to continue to change the world for good and find ways to impact their community positively, and most importantly, bring everybody together and, take care of each other and have each other's backs, kind of like we do here with the Bucks.